Hi, Ritika.
Hey, how are you?
It's good. I missed you.
I missed you too, Michael. It's really weird. When you called me, like no ring came in. It was like the weirdest thing.
I don't know. Technology never works.
I don't know. I didn't even know that you were calling me. I was just looking at my computer and I was like, huh, I'm getting a call.
It looks sunny there. Is it warm today?
Yeah, it's relatively warmer. It's 40 degrees outside.
40 degrees is not bad. That's pretty good, actually. What's that, 10 degrees?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's above freezing temperature.
So you were working today, right?
I was working, I gave my notice, and I've been feeling a little bit sad, to be honest, because I really liked my clients, and she was like kind of upset.
But she can always hire your new firm and get you back.
I really like her. She gave me such a, like, that totally made my day. She gave me a compliment, like, just a week ago. She's like, I really like you are assertive, but in a nice way. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I think it's always sad when you leave clients you like.
I really like her. She's one of my favorites. Hopefully I'll see her again, so.
Well, let's talk about some lessons learned, right? Do you have anything to share, or do you want to just have a general discussion?
No, I think like there were last time when we chatted, I think I was just so excited. I didn't properly had the chance to firstly thank you and then also just see like mention what all I did and what all I plan to do, which I feel like uh, would be important for me and I feel like other people as well. So we can start there if you want.
Okay, well, you don't have to thank me. I think that I liked working with you, to be honest. I think you have a good attitude, a good energy. You have a good personality. It made it easy to work with you. I can't say that about every client.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not being bad. I'm just saying that some clients you like more than others, and I think I liked you more than other clients. Don't tell
Yay.
your husband that. Okay, so I appreciate the thank you. It's always nice to hear a thank you. I'm expecting a gift in the mail that will come later.
You'd be surprised. You'll be getting something in the mail. I just,
Okay, I will be checking the mail every day just to be sure.
I just mailed it today, Michael, so you'll have to wait for a few days
Okay.
before it reaches you.
Okay, so let's talk about the lessons, right? Where do you want to start? Any lessons about using the program?
I think, like, Michael, the first thing that comes to mind is, like, giving ample time.
Yeah.
At least that's true for me. I'm not the kind of person who just, like, looks at a video or an audio once and just, like, gets it.
I don't think anyone gets it, Ritika. It takes time, right?
Yeah, but I didn't quite realize that. I actually used to think that, oh my gosh, it just takes so long to like figure this thing out. But once I get it really well. But to get to that stage, especially like the TCO one and TCO two that I saw, I actually saw it like, I don't know if you can see it on my account, but
I
like
can't, but you can tell us anyway.
multiple times, like 3+ times maybe.
Wait, why are you laughing? My recommendation is you should watch the main videos 4 times.
I probably have seen it 4 times, if not more.
So that's good.
And I enjoyed the thing is like it's not just I've seen it just for like heck of it. I just feel like every time I see a video, I learn something new. So for instance, I go watch video like today, for instance, I am pretty sure I learned something that I did not realize it earlier.
You mean it's like a well-made movie?
It's like something I feel like I missed something or the other. It may be very subtle, but I feel like I come out of it and it's like, I learned something in this video. So it almost feels like really inefficient sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but I think in the long term, you kind of get the holistic view of like different lessons that are being taught in TCO 1 and 2. Not only case interviews, but just, I feel like more importantly for me was you comment on communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it, I think, like, you have really good communication skills. I don't say I copy you, but
Mm-hmm.
I notice like the certain pauses and the emphasis on words that you place sometimes. And I obviously like I don't want to sound like a clone of Michael, but I kind of blend my own personality to see like how can I emphasize certain words that I want to emphasize. So I still sound like Ritika, but I don't sound like boring.
It makes sense. You want to learn a technique for speaking. There's many techniques. All of them are valid. I have a certain technique. It's fine if you adopt certain parts of it. That makes sense. It's a hybrid, right? So let's go back to watching 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the most important lesson there is that a lot of times when people watch a video, they expect to be told the answer. And then they memorize it. We don't teach an answer, we teach a style of thinking. What most people do is they'll watch a video and they'll then just pay attention to the framework at the end. They'll memorize it and then they'll ignore the important part, which is how we teach them to develop the framework, which you have to watch several times to understand.
Yeah, and this is something I wanted to discuss with you, but like for a lot of, I don't know for a lot of people, I know for a few people, like my husband,
Yeah.
he's like not interested in this type of stuff at all. So I almost wonder for people who don't find business interesting, like, I don't know, I'm just like, maybe he hasn't seen it properly because I maybe almost forced him to watch a couple videos. But I feel like even for like non-consulting, people who are just interested in like understanding the business side of things, these videos are quite useful. That's just like what I feel.
So the question is how to get people interested in it?
Yeah, how to get people like really gain more understanding. Like, hey, this is not just for people trying to pass cases. It's like more than that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not for people just trying to pass cases. Every client I have, especially the ones who are executives. I mean, I have a client now who could be the head of pharmaceuticals for Latin America. Very senior guy, very nice guy as well. I do like him. I hope he's successful. When he started with us, I remember telling him, we're going to have to go to basics.
Yeah.
I want to teach you how to sit in a room with your very senior colleagues and only work with a pencil and a sheet of blank paper and help them solve a problem. And to do that, you have to understand some basic things like what is a problem.
Yep.
If you're sitting there and this brilliant MBA from Stanford is presenting some idea, you need to be able to do a quick back-of-the-envelope calculation to see if it makes sense. You can't say, hey, give me one day to think about it, because decisions are made in the moment. So we always go back to basics. The way to make it interesting for people. In your case, I mean, I know a little bit about your husband. He likes football. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to like football. So what you need to do is you got to find something that interests him and show him how to use the techniques. Like, for example, actually, you will see this in one of the upcoming TCO seasons. I have a lady there who likes, I think, volleyball or something like that. But I was showing her how to use estimation to calculate the transfer fees for players. So you got to find a subject that's interesting for them and show them how to use the skills to make it easier for them. If you just tell someone, I'm going to teach you how to develop a decision tree, it makes no sense to them.
Exactly. It sounded like jargon. Like, what are you talking about?
You actually shouldn't even talk about it. In fact, if you want to teach this to someone, don't bring it up. The way you got to do it is you got to say, hey, I noticed that you're interested in working out how much this player is worth on the open market for football. Let's see if there's a better way to do it. Then you show them the better way, and then you say, hey, do you realize that I use something different here? Have you considered doing the same thing? That's the technique. So you got to find the thing that interests the person and introduce the skill underneath that. As opposed to just saying, we're going to now learn how to develop hypotheses. Look, you're going to see this. Training at consulting firms is very boring. And you're not going to learn much. You're not going to learn anything with the training the firm sends you on. In fact, when the firm sends you on training, it's not to train you. It's to get you to socialize with your colleagues from other offices.
Okay.
The goal of training is not to train you. It's to get you familiar with the language of the firm and then to make sure that you know Patrick from the Belgian office. You know Victor from the Russian office or wherever it is. So that as you progress through the firm, you know who to call on.
Yep.
Right? So you're going to see this, right? Training is badly done. The way you have to make training interesting is to make it contextually relevant. So if, for example, someone is out there saying, I don't want to learn about hypotheses, then don't learn about hypotheses. If you like watching soap operas, then maybe ask yourself, what is my reason why this lady slept with that lady's husband? Right? But you got to make it contextually relevant. That's the key with any learning. I always tell people if your training is boring, then you need to change your training. Because you suffer from burnout quite extensively. That's one of the reasons people are terrible at math, right? Math is very badly taught.
Yeah, I was not good at math until like standard 8. I was terrible at it, actually.
Well, I mean, I'm familiar with the British system. India works in the British system. Standard 8, standard 9, standard 10. You graduated standard 10, right?
I graduated in standard 12, yeah.
Standard 12, yes, 12. Okay, that's right, 12, yes. So, you're right. The British and the Indian style of teaching math is not fun. It's very elitist. It's like the people who learned math,
Yeah.
they feel that they suffered and they're very special. And to belong to the society, you must suffer and pay a price before you can understand the subject, right?
I honestly did not learn a lot of math from my teachers. It's like my grandfather, he was a PhD in like some engineering. He's not anymore, but he taught me like from scratch, like sitting side by side and like drawing pictures to show me like this is how it works.
Well, I was the same. I was terrible at math. I mean, even though now I'm good at math. And the way I learned math is I'd buy the biographies of the famous mathematicians. And I would read about their thought process about how they developed the concept. And then it made a lot of sense to me, but I never understood what they were teaching me at school. So you're going to make teaching interesting. Bill Madisoni, you know the Bill Madisoni show, right?
Yeah.
I must be honest, I never thought marketing was interesting until I met Bill. I always thought marketing was just really, not boring. I never thought marketing was boring. I watched Mad Men. It didn't look boring. But I always thought it was this very practical, functional discipline that was easy to do. And then I met Bill, and he made it very interesting because he taught it from the perspective of how he developed these concepts.
I need to start watching this show.
It's so good. It is one of the best things on television today. It's really good. I mean, I watch it a lot, obviously, because we're editing it and so on. But every time I watch it, I learn something new. And there's not an exaggeration. I can say, we've got a lot of shows on the site, but I think the Bill Madisoni show is one of the best things I've ever been exposed to.
Where do you recommend? So just start from the beginning?
Just watch from the beginning. It's very interesting. His stories are interesting. He talks about how he met his wife and why she's the most beautiful woman in the world and so on. But that's what makes it interesting.
I have 3 months to do all of that, Michael.
Yeah, but the thing is, you got to make teaching relevant. I feel teaching is badly done. I honestly believe this. I don't know what you're watching now, but you should watch the new episodes for Rebuilding a Consulting Partnership. And there I actually map out my entire career. Every study, timelines, how long I spent on each one. And you can see how my career changed as I took more control of it. That will be very relevant for you. Okay, so that's one lesson you got to learn in a contextually relevant way. Anything else that you learned? Or advice you have for other people, I mean, that's also very useful.
I think one of the most important key takeaway for me, as they say in consulting, is distilling a complex problem down to one simple statement. I'm still not amazing at it, but the fact is, even at work right now, so many people are saying somebody has this perspective, and they're just going on and on about details. And I've started noticing myself, guys, can we just talk? What is the problem? Can we stop talking about column A, column B, row 1, row 2? What are we trying to do? And as we do that, the conversations become so much easier, so much simple to follow. And this is not related to case consulting interviews or anything like that. Managers, etc., have started noticing it, and they're wow, that was really great. You really distilled that problem down into 2 things. I really appreciate that. So the key takeaway here,
No, you were saying, continue.
Yeah, so the key takeaway here for the viewers would be, even if, let's say, they're not interested in consulting, just doing well in work, professional life, I think this is a really good skill to have. And I think which can be which can be developed by just watching some of these TCOs carefully. And I would say even listening to the podcast, some of the knowledge that you share over just life experiences with anecdotes, they're pretty interesting to listen to, and there's a lot of learnings to be taken away from it.
That ability to distill things down to its essence is, the way I picked it up, I used to sit across from the youngest partner at the firm. He was the youngest partner at the firm. He was very smart. I think he became a principal at the age of 28, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh
so very young principal, 28 years old. He liked me for some weird reason. And I would just watch him and the way he communicated. Then I just started copying him. I found out where he bought his shirts from. I bought my shirts from there as well. I found out where he buys his cufflinks. I bought my cufflinks in the same place as well. The point is this. The only way to learn is to observe someone.
Yeah.
and mimic the style. This idea of distilling things down to its essence, I would actually watch him do that with people who would come to his desk. So they'd come to his desk with some complicated problem, and he'd
Yeah.
just distill it down to its most to the kernel of the problem. And then he would focus the teams. And you're right, it is a very important skill. The only danger with this skill,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say danger, there's no danger, is that if you distill it down to its essence without carrying people along on the journey, they call you rude.
Yes. That happens too. It's like, why are you cutting me? Be like, no, hang on one second. Let's finish this first.
Yeah, I've been told that many times, that I am rude for just cutting off people and getting to the point. I think the way to do it is not to cut them off, to let them make their point and say, I hear what you're saying. What I understand the most important thing we have to fix here is, and then go through it. But you have to listen to them.
Well, how do you, so sometimes you have people who just go on and on and on. They just like don't stop talking. So you have to say, wait, hang on one second, hang on. And then that comes off as rude.
No, you don't have to do that. So if you look at you're going to watch the first 90 days. We teach this there and we teach it in M&A study, but we teach it in the first 90 days. The way to do this is if someone raises a point that you don't want to discuss, agree to discuss it, just not in that meeting. We understand this is important, but for the sake of priorities and so on and time, let's discuss this point and then you and I will discuss this offline. So that way, and you make a note of it in public so they not feel they're being dismissed, and then you take it offline. But the overriding concept here is communication is the most important thing.
I really think so. I mean, the key reason I've had like really strong relationships even with people I've never met before, like in India teams. I've just worked for 2 months. They're like calling me and saying that, hey, you're coming to India, like we should hang out. I'm like, you haven't even met before. What are you talking about? It's just like being able to understand, communicate, and even if things are getting like really frustrating, following up with them later on after the call ends, one-on-one, like makes a huge difference. And I did not know all of these techniques. I think if you listen to your podcast, I think there are some things along those lines you recommend.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a program coming out about how to manage senior clients. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you right now, the way I sold work, I mean, we're not supposed to use the word sold, with forbidden, but I'll say it here because everyone will understand what I'm saying. But it was very different from the way every other partner sold work.
Okay.
I'm going to use the terminology because it's true, but you got to, understand that it's a little bit different. But I would treat the person as if we're going on a date. And there's a very important analogy here. When someone is with you, they must believe everything is possible. When you're meeting a senior executive, you must remember that senior executive is not getting any sleep. They're not seeing their kids. They've got the shareholders sitting on them. They have the chairman of the board watching their every move. They've got major shareholders screaming at them. That person is under a lot of stress. So when you are with them, they must believe everything can be fixed. They must believe that they can be a better person. And that's my technique that I use with every single client. And the simple things. I used to tell my assistant, if a client calls, never say I'm with another client. They must always believe I'm only available for them. So if a client calls, don't tell them I'm with another client. Say I'm not available right now. But don't say Michael is with another client. It's a psychology thing.
Oh, he's more important than
Exactly. It's a psychology. And the second thing is I never check my phone with a client, period. You never look at your phone. I know it's very weird because everyone thinks they should do it, but I never looked at my phone was never with me when I was with clients.
Yeah.
You never look at your watch. It's those little things that you do with clients. And a very important thing is, which is different from dating, is you have to tell a client when they're wrong. But you have to do it without telling them they're wrong. You have to make them see it for themselves. Which is why you want to meet a client one-on-one, because if for some reason you mistime it, and they are told they are wrong, they will lose face in front of everyone else. And that's the last thing you want a client to associate with you with is embarrassment, because then they will never feel good around you.
Yeah.
So there's all these techniques. I had this whole routine for how to sell to clients. And it was a good routine.
Do you have a podcast on it? Or
It's a series. It's a series that's coming out soon.
Okay, it's coming up. Okay.
It was very easy for me because men, for example, when we used to take out female clients, men always stare at waitresses. I mean, it's like, what's wrong with you? If you want to stare at a woman, look, go to the internet. But with men, it doesn't matter what's going on. They will be looking, and then their eyes will go everywhere.
That's so weird.
It is weird, but I've noticed this with every single man. So when it came to men, it's very simple. To be different from men, from all the other male partners, just pay attention to the person you're speaking to. Because no man does that.
I never noticed that, but now I think I'm going to
Men
stop.
all do it. It's a universal thing. Anyone attractive, even not attractive, I think they've like never seen women before. It's like they came from from a different planet. They've never seen women. They just stare. So the point is this. It's about communication. Communication, not just verbal. It's the actions you take.
Yep.
I was not the best, the technically smartest consultant. There were much better technically smart consultants, but they were not good beyond the technicals.
Yep.
You know, I've had a client actually tell me to get out of his office. The head of nuclear engineering at one of the world's largest utilities told me to go, right? And that's pretty embarrassing. And I remember going back to him and getting him back onto my side and making him my friend, right?
How'd you do that? Oh, communication.
Cupcakes.
Oh.
Let me tell you something. Cupcakes have been my very good friend throughout my career. If a client is very hostile, I take them pink cupcakes. It completely throws them off. They don't know what to do with me.
Like, that's so nice of you.
Yeah, it's like, what? Pink cupcakes? This must be, I must be on candid camera or something. The point is, it neutralizes animosity. So you're right, communication is important, and people need to pick up the communication skills. When I do a session with you, I watch what you've watched. I can see which videos you've watched, which videos you've repeated. It shows it to me as a heat map. So
Probably a lot of reds everywhere, huh?
yeah, well, I can see which parts you watch the most. That's why I can tailor the sessions, because I know the areas you're struggling with. But when a client skips, I mean, you can see clients skipping big parts of the explanations and just going to the frameworks. I know that they'll probably get in, but then they'll struggle afterwards. And the communication part was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I was able to take things that other people struggled with and made it easier for clients. I was in corporate finance, you know that, and I specialize in risk strategy. And the reason why I was successful is because everyone uses funny words when they speak about statistics. They talk about 2 standard deviations, the t-test,
Oh, gosh.
zetas and thetas, and oh my god, skeuomorphic endomorph. I don't know. The point is, nobody speaks that way. So you got to make it very, very easy for people to understand things. And you're right, that's a very big lesson. You know, I always tell people this example is if you have someone who knows 100% of everything but can only communicate 10% of it, he is far worse than someone who only knows 30% of everything and can communicate 100% of it.
Yes, I would tend to definitely agree with that, because a lot of the ZS is known for really heavy data analytics.
Yes,
So
I know.
Excel, and a lot of the times, like, I don't know how to do really like hardcore SAS programming or anything. I know basic stuff, but I'm not like data scientist or anything like that. But I know like little things here and there, and if I can explain to my clients carefully and like communicate that in a clear way, that's good enough, versus somebody trying to explain everything to clients and they're just like, what's going on? I don't understand. So I may not understand 100% of it, but like the 30% that I do understand, I communicate that does play a huge role, and like the clients get it too.
No, but that's all you need to know, right? There's software that can do everything. It's not your role to know everything. And I remember with me, I was working with these German consultants once, and I had a reputation for heavy analysis. That was my reputation at the firm. And I remember how surprised the Germans are when I told them, I don't know how to build. I've never used VLOOKUP in my entire life.
Really, Michael?
At the firm, I had a reputation for building these very, very sophisticated models.
How'd you do that?
Because of the definition of sophistication. See, when people say sophisticated, they mean big, complex models. I was able to simplify the problem so that I was able to build a simple model that answered a complex question versus a complex model that answered a complex question. So I think very carefully about what are we trying to do, what are the assumptions, what parts could be eliminated in the model, what parts could be condensed, and I'd build the model. And my models were always very easy to build. And people would, when they'd heard about the work I would do, they always would assume it would be some fancy model. It was never a fancy model. It's the thinking that was very complicated that went behind it. I mean, if you follow Rebuilding a Consulting Practice, I'll talk to you about a study I did for a resources company.
Okay.
And I built that model overnight.
Wow.
And people were thinking this model, we had a very successful relationship with that client. They always assumed it must have taken me weeks to do, and it didn't take me weeks to do.
One night.
It took me one night. I'm not showing off that I'm faster than anyone or anything like that. What I'm saying is that you have to think very carefully about what is useful to do and what is not useful to do. And that's about communication. So in my mind, I'm thinking about what is the problem and how do I get the client to understand this? And the client's not going to understand the value of building a model over 3 weeks. It's not going to add any value to them. You got to spend time doing value-added things, right? And that's the point, is communication is not just the way you speak, it impacts your actions.
I mean, I've learned a lot from you on that one.
Hopefully we will learn more together, Ritika.
Little things. I mean, I do plan to continue listening to your podcast, so your voice is not going away anytime soon.
Your poor husband.
I have headphones, but he listens to it too. He knows you really well. Let's just put it.
That's good. Any other insights? Anything else you think people should know about using the program?
So this is a very sort of like tactical two things. One of them, I think somewhere you had taught how to quit. Like, I know it's a very small thing, but it's actually pretty big, I think, because like some of the key takeaways that I took from that, most of my managers, partners, they're just like, my PD manager, in fact, came and told me, she's like, you're doing this so correctly. Like, the partner's really impressed with you. And I was like, really?
Why did you think I'd give you bad advice, Ritika?
I wouldn't have thought of like just going and kind of positioning myself as, hey, like, I'm happy to stay 1 month or whatever, just like giving them an option. I think that just is huge, instead of telling them this is what I'm doing, see ya, tata, bye-bye.
Yeah, you can't do that in the world. I mean, that's how everyone is trained to do it, right?
Yeah.
If you read every forum, they teach you to prepare a letter, sit down with HR, and that's how people do it. And I'm sure now you can see the value of handling it differently.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds really simple, but like how to behave yourself when you're leaving, and like how to perception matters. And even though you think you're like very hardworking, this and that, like certain actions that you do, certain things you say, like it could lead to like bad gossip. So how to stay out of that?
It's actually a little bit deeper than that, I think. You must remember that your HR staff and your peers at your firm have seen many people resign.
Yeah.
Right? Your partner that you're working with, he's been there, 5 years?
Oh, my partner, he's been there. He's senior partner.
Okay, so 10, 15 years. He's obviously a respected partner. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's probably hired 100 people and seen maybe minimum, right? Minimum 100 people.
Definitely.
And he's seen about 100 people resign. Now, here's the thing you got to remember. As you become older in life, you start noticing patterns. You start noticing that people will say whatever they want to get something. That's a fact.
Yeah.
As soon as they get it, or they think they can't get it from you, only then will you see the person for who they are. That's a very important truism in life. People always tell me, oh, I'm marrying this person, I know exactly what they're like. You don't know what they're like. And that's a fact. I mean, I'm not being difficult. That's true. It's the same with your career.
Yeah.
To get a job, people say whatever they want. As soon as they don't need you, or they don't think they need you, or they don't think they can get what they want from you, then you will see what they are really like. Now, when you do what you've done, you haven't put your needs first, you've put their needs first, you automatically stand out. You will be remembered for a very long time because you did the opposite of what everyone else does. So in this case, you've actually made a sacrifice. You have made a sacrifice with your time and your effort, but it's a worthy sacrifice. When people are young, they always think the smartest people get the best jobs. You have to be smart, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's the most trustworthy person.
Yeah.
And what you've now built is you've built credibility with them. You've built credit, for lack of a better word. And if you keep on doing that in your career, you start having a reputation as someone who can be relied upon. And that is more important than anything else. You want to be the person whose word is their stone. And this is the thing about being accountable. You want to be accountable. People must know that if they give Ritika to do something, even if she's going to leave, she will do what's right. And then they don't really worry about you because they know they can rely on you.
It's the fear of God. I'm just kidding.
It's the fear of God. People are very selfish, Ritika. You will see that people are very selfish. And when people see you are different, then they'll always remember you. I think I mentioned to you when I resigned from a firm and I had to write to them to get a reference letter. They remembered me and they wrote this wonderful reference letter because of the way I left the firm. So it definitely helps in the future.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that. This is not about resignation at all. When I left my undergrad, one of my professors and I just like, even if I didn't have any homework or anything, I just like did whatever if he's like, hey, can you do this problem? Can you do this office hour or whatever? Just random. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And somehow during recently you're trying to verify my degree and no one from my school would reply. I was like, why is nobody replying to my request? So I reached out to this professor and he's like, and he called, like he's this dean of the department. He gave them a call and he's like, this person, please help her out. This is the degree, blah, blah, blah. And like, it was done in like 5 minutes.
Everyone is only in it to finish a transaction. And as soon as they get what they want, they are gone. I mean, they're literally gone.
That's kind of sad.
But that's the way the world is. And it's not the way business works.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can be that way. But remember, if you are that way, you have to have an enormous amount of value that you bring to the table because no one wants to work with you for any other reason. If you're a real jerk, the only time people will work with you is if you bring a lot of value. But as soon as you start bringing a little bit less value, they will get rid of you.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not just how to leave, but it's also how to manage interactions. You want to make people feel as if they're important and what they're doing is important. I mean, you're leaving your firm, but obviously their clients are important to them. Mm-hmm. So you have to help them be successful with their clients. You mentioned there were 2 things, right?
I think the other one is just sort of related. It might sound funny, but like really, like how to behave in corporate world. I mean, especially for people who are just graduating from universities and things like that, it's actually really different. And a lot of people just like assume that, oh, I'm a 4.0 GPA, this and that, like I'm going to do awesome. That's not true. There's a lot of like harsh reality to what outside world is. And just by listening to some of these, I almost wish I started listening to some of these podcasts and videos a little bit earlier before I started at ZS. But I didn't, so I kind of learned the hard way.
But the good news is that when you have children, you can get them to listen to it from a young age.
There you go, Michael. You solved all my problems.
Look, but speaking about children, there's a linked point here. It's not about, I mean, I know that people think that if you have a 4.0 GPA, it's going to be easy, but there's an underlying principle here. You can't be entitled. A lot of people are entitled. They believe that once they've passed this hurdle, they've earned this badge of honor, certain things will come to them. And nothing comes to you. You know, the one thing I've learned is, and that's a good thing about working at these, highly prestigious consulting firms, is always someone smarter than you out there. Yep. I remember this one partner. I'll never forget this one partner. He became, I think, partner maybe 31, maybe 30. Okay. He was an Olympic athlete. He got married at the age of 21. And he had a very nice wife as well. He's a 30-year-old partner, Olympic athlete. He looks like he belongs in a soap opera. He's happily married. What chance do you have of competing with someone like that, right?
It sounds perfect.
Sounds perfect. He's a very nice guy as well. I mean, I don't know where he's ended up now, but he was a very nice guy. My point is this. If you go into life being entitled, you will fail. Because the definition of entitled means you expect something without working for it. Or you expect something assuming you already earned it and you don't have to work for it anymore. The underlying principle is you have to be grateful.
Yep.
Be grateful for what you have and be willing to earn what you want. So you're right. I think a lot of people go in. I mean, I know it's common. Everyone thinks you get into a very good school, you get a 4.0 GPA, and it's going to be easy. It is not easy at all. There's so many things that go wrong. I
was like that, Michael, first year at CS.
Really?
It was like this, oh my gosh, I feel so average here. I'm like not good at all. Everyone is so much more smarter than me.
I'll tell you what changed for me. I mean, I discuss this a lot in partnership and rebuilding a practice.
Yeah.
What changed for me and when my career really took off, because it wasn't going anywhere for the first 2 years. I mean, it was stuck like a snail in a Montreal winter. Right? What changed for me is my belief that I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to not expect people to tell me what's going to make me successful.
That's a really great insight. Like, I'm still absorbing that because, I mean, my first year at ZS was terrible. I just struggle so much.
But it's something you don't really, no one tells you this.
No, and that was because of exactly what you're saying, because I almost expected people to take decisions for me. Hey, what should I do? Like, what do you think? And then in my second year, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I think this is what is right. And people just started thinking that, okay, now she's getting really independent.
Well, I think two things drove it for me. One, culturally, we're taught that education solves all our problems.
Yep.
That's my culture. Education is the be-all and end-all, right? And two, this is something I've noticed, but over the last maybe 15 years, it's become almost cool to say that you want to continuously learn in life. Do you know people say that a lot?
Yeah.
It wasn't around in the late 90s. I've never heard it when I was around it. It became very common from about 2002, 2003. People start saying, oh, my goal in life is to learn. I'm taking this job to learn. So when you have that mentality that you are there to only learn, you're expecting someone is there to teach you. Yeah. So the thing that changed for me is that I'm going to learn, but I'm also going to deliver. I'm going to learn how to do things versus learn and then later on do things. Because a lot of us go there and we expect to take notes and get this guidance. And the one thing that you learn in consulting very fast is no one tells you what to do.
Yes.
It's very shocking how they put you in front of a executive of a multi-billion-dollar company,
yep,
and they tell you to put your slides together and go and talk to an executive, and there's no guidance. Well, there is guidance, but what's the point of going into a database that has 10,000 documents on how to write a report? How do you go through 10,000 documents, right? There's no time. So you're sitting there in your hotel room at 11 at night. The internet is not working very well, and you have to scroll through 10,000 documents to find the one that maybe can help you.
Oh, God.
And that's what I used to do. I would go through all the documents, and I'd never understand it. And then I'd say, let's work from first principles. What am I trying to do? How do I do it? And then my career took off. In fact, I remember the actual time my career took off when the guy, the youngest partner, he was sitting in a meeting room with me and telling me how he wanted me to do the analysis. And then I told him, yeah, I heard you. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm going to propose a different approach. And if I like what you're proposing, then I'll use it. Otherwise, we're going to use my approach, right? And then I laid out my entire thinking. So I wasn't just rude about it. And I was very nice about it. I mean, obviously my language was a lot more polite than what I'm saying now. And he was very impressed. I thought he'd be angry, but he was very impressed. He went and told everyone how well I had managed things. And he basically left me alone for the rest of the engagement.
Wow.
So you have to be accountable. Responsible is where you're just doing what he asks you to do. Accountable is you're figuring out what is the best way to do it, even if you have to ignore some very important people.
I actually wanted to ask you about this. Responsible versus accountable. So I think you had mentioned you need some break to change your thinking from responsible to accountable.
Okay, so that's the most important thing to be. The difference between being accountable and responsible is what will make you a partner, basically. And let me explain the difference here.
Okay.
Let's assume I gave you a piece of work. And I mean, I teach this in all the programs, and you've seen I bring this up a lot with Felix and so on, right? I've mentioned that many, many times. Let's assume I gave you a piece of analysis to do.
Okay.
Now, a responsible person will figure out what is the best way to do this analysis. They will deliver the best possible analysis, and the analysis could be 100% correct. An accountable person will say, why are we doing this analysis? They'll go home and say, you know what? We're doing this analysis to achieve X, and there's a better way to achieve X. So I'm not going to do the analysis. I'm going to do a different activity that's going to achieve X, and I'm going to bring it in the next morning because I'm going to own this problem. The responsible person owns the solution. The accountable person owns the problem.
Know the business need before you jump into the analysis.
Yeah, but the reason why it's hard to be accountable is it's very risky.
Yeah.
Because you're basically disobeying orders a lot. It means that every time someone tells you to do something, if you think there's a better way to do it, you will do the better way. Now, if you work in a command and control organization that's not used to that kind of individualism, you get into a lot of trouble. If you work in a culture that's not used to that, you get into a lot of trouble. If you are not able to communicate why you've made the change, even if the change is right, you get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But why this is important is because senior people can't know everything. There's too many things happening on an engagement. So that if I tell you something to do, I'm telling you what to do based on my best knowledge. But as this partner, I don't know what's happening on your stream of work. You know best. So if you know there's a better way to do this, then you need to tell me and take charge and get it done. And I would do that a lot. I mean, I was notorious for changing things at the last minute and coming up with something completely new. And look, the fact is, there was once we made a mistake in a study, one of our most important clients. And the partner told me, don't go tell the client. What do you think I did?
You told the client?
Not only did I tell the client, I knew the partner was going to go see the client, so I got into my car before him, took a shortcut to the client, and went and told the client. Now, here's the thing. If that had failed, I'd have been fired. But it didn't fail. I felt it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it really helped my career. So being accountable is a very high-risk proposition. But if you succeed, and people who are accountable don't really fail in the long term. They may not succeed in one organization, but they make it in the long term. You'll be very successful. So initially, don't ruffle too many feathers. If you want to change things, tell people you're going to change it and explain why. Yeah. Then as you build a track record, it becomes easier to do. But that mindset of owning the problem and not the solution is a big deal. For example, if you know something your firm is doing is not going to help, and everyone wants you to do it, you need to escalate that as far as possible to get it changed.
Yep.
And the interesting thing about the firm is that if you don't escalate it, and you knew it was a problem, they'll fire you for it. It's a very interesting thing, because that's the model. If you knew this was so bad, why didn't you escalate it?
Yeah.
So what if no one listened to you? You've already told us you knew it was a problem. If this engagement manager was not listening to you, you should have gone more higher. That's the way the firm works. That's accountability. And I've seen people get fired for that.
Really?
Repeatedly. My first engagement, the only reason I had a bad engagement, but the reason they didn't fire me is because they felt that I was being accountable. I was fighting with the engagement manager on the study because I felt that he was wasting the client's time. So they asked me to leave the study early. They sent me back to the office. And that's basically being fired, right? But the partners voted in my favor and said, look, obviously there's a personality issue here. He did everything right. It's the engagement manager's fault.
Wow, that happens. I feel like, don't companies just always side with the senior people? That's what
they don't always side with this. I think that, look, I've seen bad partners, obviously. I've seen many bad partners, but I've also seen good partners.
Okay.
And if you do what's right, and you do it in an unselfish way, I would think, there are times where the market's going to punish you and the firm is going to punish you because they may not understand. But 90% of times you'll probably get away with it. But more importantly, the times you do get away with it, the reward will be very high. So the trick here is, when a lot of people, when something goes wrong, they try to protect themselves. Yeah. You need to do the opposite. You need to not protect yourself in the firm. Because the effort to protect yourself means you're not protecting the client and the firm. You're basically being selfish. So the way to succeed in consulting is actually to be the opposite of the way capitalism works. Really forget about your promotion. Yeah. Forget about your, getting a bigger salary. You just got to forget about these things. I can tell you right now that I never worried about salaries, because if you do well, the firm just keeps on rewarding you, right?
Yep.
And it's not as if you can go and negotiate your salary. You can't even negotiate your salary, right? People always ask me, I got in, can I negotiate my salary? No, you can't. You can ask them, but they're going to tell you no, right?
Probably will put them on some kind of radar. I can't believe that person tried to negotiate.
Exactly. I actually know of someone who came in at an associate principal level, but because he was so rude about negotiating his salary, the firm withdrew his offer.
Really?
They just decided to take the offer back. So this thing about accountability, it's almost like what Mahatma Gandhi did. But that's a good analogy. You don't put yourself first.
Yeah.
Reward is a byproduct of philosophy. It's not what most people do. Most people think the reward is the most important thing they pursue. You're going to have the right mindset, and that's being accountable. And being accountable is very difficult. It means ultimately you're going to fight with a lot of people. So when people say, I'm going to be accountable, you've got to remember that means wearing a battle suit to the office every day. Because if something goes wrong and it doesn't work out, you have to push your point without alienating people.
Yeah.
Remember when we were practicing cases, I always said, the definition of leadership is convincing people to change their mind without alienating them. Yeah. This is why it's important. Because when you get onto a study, you're going to have to change a lot of things. And if you alienate people, they will all gang up on you.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a bad rating. They'll tell people, oh, Ritika is not a team player or something like that. The trick here is you've got to get some success. If you get success, if a client likes you, you're pretty much immune on a study.
Really? Okay.
Yes, that's your immunity. If this was Survivor Consulting Edition, Season 19, your immunity is a client liking you. If a client likes you, truly likes you, respects you. Likes you doesn't just mean they have a beer. It means they trust your judgment. They respect you. They listen to you. the firm will back down from many other things. Because at the end of the day, no matter what the firm says, the partner is basically someone who manages a mini business. He brings revenue in and he distributes it to his employees. So if you have that skill, they look for it. They don't actively encourage it, but if they see that skill in you, they will help you develop it.
That's a really good insight. I have another peer at ZS, and there's a lot of like people at ZS don't particularly like the person. They're like, oh, she's so rude, this and that. And like it went up to the partner, and the partner's comment, well, clients love her. I'm going to staff her because they all want her.
If clients love you, then yeah, you're immune. No one's going to do anything to you. And I'm not saying like a client likes you because, you know, you're just a fun person to hang out with. Because a client likes you and respects you, and they listen and they change their business because of you, and you are giving them good advice.
Yep.
Then yeah, the firm's always going to protect you. And the firm's going to protect you because it's the right thing to do. And this is hard for many people to understand because it's been beaten into them from a very young age that if you graduate with a 4.0 GPA at the top of your class, that is all you need.
No, it's definitely not true.
But, you know, I'll make this point, and I'm really addressing it more to MBA students because I think they tend to think about this the most because they tend to be more business-minded and they need to... Look, I obviously have a lot of respect for people who finish with distinctions. I finished with a distinction as well, but it's not enough. You know, Kevin says this very well. You have, and I think I mentioned this, you have to be able to hold someone's attention. And that has nothing to do with your GPA. Anything else, Ritika? Any other valuable points?
I think you are a vast knowledge of wealth. People should take advantage of that. I mean, I feel like I still have so many things to learn, and I think in these 3 months I'm just not going to have enough time because I need to like compartmentalize what I want to do, what I not. And
I think the advice for you, since you're making this transition, and this is a very sincere advice, is don't worry about the technical skills.
Okay.
Because there's too many of them. You could pick up all the technical skills I have by watching the videos very carefully. I mean, I think you could do that. But picking up technical skills and understanding it by watching a video is very different from learning how to pick up technical skills and apply it in a live situation with a client that's having a conversation with you. So I would say don't worry about the technical skills. Now, if you weren't working at an elite firm, or if you're working at an elite firm at a weak office, I would say watch the videos because there's nowhere else you're going to pick it up. But your firm is different, right? What I would say is learn the philosophy. The reason why I do what I do is more important than what I do. If you pick up the philosophy, then you are fine. And I will give you something to do, something fun to do.
Okay.
Are you a Star Trek fan?
No.
Well, you could be a Star Trek fan. You just haven't watched it, right? Maybe you'd be the world's greatest Star Trek fan. You got to watch the new Star Trek series on CBS.
Okay.
It's a groundbreaking show, highly rated. It's about a lady called Michael Burnham. I mean, initials are the same as mine. I'm not saying there's some similarities there. But you got to watch her thinking because she's a good example of being accountable.
Okay.
She doesn't care who tells her what to do. If it's wrong, she will disobey orders. I'm not saying disobey orders, but that's the philosophy. You got to put the greater good before your own. That's the underlying philosophy. If you come home every day and say, oh, how do I get promoted? This person earns more than me. I went to my friend's house. She's an associate. She can afford this big apartment. People do that. That's actually the wrong thing to focus on.
Yep.
I do remember this very clearly because I switched offices. And one of the ladies who switched offices with me was a senior business analyst. Mm-hmm. And she ended up joining as an associate at my level as well. I don't know how she swung that. She's obviously a good negotiator. I remember I was being very upset about it, telling the partner about it. And he said, look, you're worrying about the wrong thing. The firm moves very fast. Everything happens in an accelerated time at the firm.
Yep.
You're worried about this lady. Let me tell you something. In 6 months, in 3 months, the firm is going to decide who's better. And they're going to reward you. So it doesn't matter what the starting point is. It matters how you manage things going forward. So yes, I don't know if she earns more than me. I don't know. Maybe she did. The point is, it's a very good insight, and that's what you have to remember. And then the way he made me do it is, he was actually an associate principal at that time. And he went on to become a senior partner. I worked with him very closely. He said, you got to be completely generous in sharing. So he said that I went from a very strong office to a very weak office, and he said that the skill you have is you did corporate strategy. No one in this office did corporate strategy. So one thing you can do is train the young associates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I mean, I spent Fridays and Thursdays training them. I'm not saying the training was any good. I hope it was good. You have to ask those people. But my point is you have to really ignore the conventional metrics of success to be successful. You've got to almost not even worry about your promotion and bonus and salary. And it has to be, you don't have to look, you should not look at it. If you do well, the firm always rewards you, and they reward you heavily. I mean, if you are a stellar performer, you and your husband will never have to pay for a vacation for the rest of your life. That's not a joke. The firm will say, Ritika has done so well, we will pay for her to go wherever she wants for 5 days and she can take her husband with her.
Are you kidding me?
That's not a joke. That's what they will do for you. So the point is you don't have to worry about those things. All the rewards are there. But the philosophy is most important. Nobody cares about the philosophy. It's the philosophy that will distinguish you from everyone else.
Yep, I think that makes sense. I still have a lot to learn, Michael. And I mean, we haven't really talked about the FC Insider as much, but I think a lot of the podcasts and videos that you have on the website are, you can only get access to it after 6 months or something like that, right?
Yes.
I don't think I even had access to it before, and finally now I do, so better take advantage of it.
Well, the thing is, find the ones that interest you.
I think you'd be really surprised. Like, I find most of them very interesting. So it's, for me, I actually need to prioritize.
For you, rebuilding a consulting partnership is now the most important thing.
Okay. What about the first 90 days?
The first 90 days are good, but they're very tactical.
Okay.
Like, how do you send an email? I mean, they're going to be very useful to you. Like, I explained to you why you should never leave a voicemail for someone, ever. Never leave a voicemail for a partner. Never do that, right? It will upset them like you cannot believe.
I haven't done that, but why would it upset them?
Because think about this, right? At my peak, the peak number of studies I managed at any given time was about 5. And I had internal initiatives I was running. So I had 5 teams reporting to me.
Yeah.
And I'm also helping partners on other things. And I have internal initiatives. So someone will do this. They will call me and say, Michael, there's something important. Can you call me back? Now imagine I'm in a meeting and then I had a BlackBerry. My BlackBerry starts, BlackBerries used to have this red light that starts going off.
Yeah.
And my phone used to be on vibrate. It's always vibrating on the desk. Right? It's doing a little popcorn dance there because of all the phone calls. So I get this message. And remember, BlackBerry didn't have the technology to convert the voice message into a text yet.
Yeah.
I have no time. I've got to find a space, listen to the message. I can't even hear clearly because it's noisy in the city. Take out a pen, make a note of who called me, call them back. Do you think that's good use of my time?
No, it sounds really annoying.
The best thing is to send an email saying,
yeah,
we need to speak about this. Then I can decide if I want to call you back, or I can just respond and say, don't worry about it. But voice messages, the reason why people do it is because they're covering their behinds. They don't want to put anything to paper. But it is a horrible thing. To this day, if you leave me a voice message, I will never, ever call you back. Don't leave a voice message. You'll never get a response because I will not even listen to it.
Yeah.
If Apple is not converting into text, it will not work. I will just not listen to it. But it has a very practical reason why it doesn't work. It's just a very time-consuming process to listen to voicemail. So there's all these little tricks of the trade that you need to be aware of. And I remember I used to do this. I would write to senior partners and say, need a response by 5 p.m., XXX. Whatever the point was, then this is what I'm doing, 3 bullets. If you disagree, respond by 5. If not, I'll assume it's all okay. And everyone was fine with that, right? If they didn't respond, I'll go ahead. If they responded, no problem. So you have to be very efficient in this way.
Yeah.
All these little tricks that you need to do. So first 90 days teaches you these tactical tricks.
Okay.
Explain what is operation strategy, what is corporate strategy, but they don't teach you the philosophy. That is different.
That's rebuilding consulting practice.
Well, it's everything. It's the philosophy is taught in everything, but it's more in rebuilding and consulting practice.
Okay.
The mindset has to be very different. Once you get into the firm, you will notice, I'm sure you've seen this already, that there are different classes of partners. There are partners who are basically dead men walking. They are going to go nowhere. People always hear you in a partner and they think, wow, you must have been so revered. You must have had groupies following you around for autographs and so on. But like any society, there's a segmentation within that society, right? There are some partners who are very highly respected. Some who have a lot of influence. Some who have no influence. Some are barely hanging on for dear life. Now, I'm not saying any of them are bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are some that are better than others.
Yep.
And I always tell people that the great irony of all of this is the partners you have read about are not successful partners.
Really?
Well, think about it. Who do you think is a successful partner? The one who has time to write a book, or the one who's sitting with Jamie Dimon and having coffee and plotting JP Morgan strategy and doesn't have time to write a book?
Yep, makes sense.
So I always tell this and people say, no, it can't be true, but it is true.
Yeah.
The successful partners are the ones you've never heard of until they leave the firm and become CEO somewhere. So when people join, they always look for who published. That's not the partner you want to be with. You want to be with a partner who barely has time to publish things because he's always with clients. In fact, you know a partner is successful because he's never at the office. He's always with a client. But as soon as you see a partner is doing a book tour, that's not a good sign for me. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because the firm agrees certain partners will publish and certain partners will manage clients. Now, of course, there are certain partners who are good at publishing and managing clients. They are like unicorns, right? They're these mythical beasts that are hard to find. So all these assumptions, when you join the firm, it takes time to figure these things out.
Okay.
I always tell people, you don't have to search for the right partners. They will find you if you're good. Unicorns always look for other unicorns. They like to stick with their own kind, right?
Makes sense.
So these are the little things, but they're very important. They are things that you can't learn elsewhere.
Yep.
So your goal is not to try to learn anything before you start. It's to become comfortable with this philosophy of being accountable. That's all you need to do. And you got to ask yourself, what would I do if I saw something that was important, no one agreed with me? How would I handle that? Yeah, I was not very good at that when I started. I think I upset a lot of people. But I think that you wouldn't have that problem. But sometimes you have to tell people that what they're doing is completely wrong and they need to get with the program. Sometimes they don't listen to you. I remember this one associate principal did not listen to me. She actually took me into a room and said, I know that you have very high standards and you want things done to a certain way, but we just don't have time to do it. And that's fine, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences, right?
You were the partner at that time?
I wasn't the main, I was one of the partners in the study.
Okay.
So I spoke to the senior partner and told him, look, it's not my study. I can't make your team do anything, but I think it's going to cause trouble. It did cause trouble. No one listened, right? The point there was they were trying to use neural network programming to build a model.
Okay.
And I said, give me a break, man. Just use a normal Excel model. Why do you need to use neural network? Do you even know what a neural network is? Well, I don't know what it is. It sounds very fancy, right?
Yeah.
So I thought we were going for overkill. I thought we were making a problem that wasn't complicated too complicated. And that's an example of simplifying things. The thing is that you got to enjoy it. When you're an associate, it will be the best time you ever had in your life.
Really?
Yes. Let me tell you, when I was an associate, man, basically I could come in at any time because I just have to worry about my work and the one analyst I have reporting to me.
Uh-huh.
If I did all my work by 4 o'clock, and usually I do my work by 4 o'clock, and ask everyone, do you need help? If you don't need help, okay, I'm going now. But when you become a manager, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can only move as fast as your slowest team member. When you become a good manager, then the partner thinks that any problem, you have time to manage it. When you become an associate principal, you are tasked with managing more issues with the same client. When you're an engagement manager, you're managing multiple problems in the same issue. When you're an AP, you're managing issues across a client, but you have full control over one engagement. When you become a principal, you're essentially the senior partner's representative of the client. You have sight over everything that's happening at the client. And when you become a senior partner, you basically manage the relationship for the next generation. And it's not fun. Things happen that you had nothing to do with, and the client is screaming at you, basically. And here's the thing, you can't tell the client it wasn't my fault. Because it is your fault. You chose to put these people in, so it is your fault, right? So being an associate is going to be the most fun you will ever have. So I would say that even though I know it's always stressful, remember that and make the most of it. And don't be competitive. I don't think you are competitive, but don't be competitive. You must help your fellow associates as much as you can. You must be a good team player.
Yep.
There are a lot of people who don't do that. They just want to move ahead as fast as they can. Well, the culture in that part of the world is nice. I think it'll make it easier, but still, you have to worry about these things. Any other words of advice?
I would say, in terms of what's the word? Sincerity, right? I think that's one of the things that is quite important. And people watching your program, Firms Consulting, going through the Firms Consulting Inside, I think being sincere about what you're watching, what you're learning, and just like being true to yourself as you're learning all this is quite, it's not just enough to know, like you actually have to like practice it. For instance, like a lot of the times you have the choice, like knowing the distinction between right and wrong, but you can do the wrong because it might benefit you in the short term, but don't do that. And I think that those are some of the things that you teach throughout. And it's like in little things. It might be we're having a case and like in the middle you like say something and that's like huge. You'll miss that if you're not paying attention.
One important thing you said about being true to yourself is a lot of people want to be strategy consultants. Everyone I speak to wants to be a strategy consultant, but do you realize how few corporate strategy consultants there actually are? And it doesn't matter if you're a corporate strategy partner, you could be an operations partner, you can be an org design partner. What makes you a successful partner is your ability to influence an executive. It's not like if I'm a corporate strategy partner, they listen to me more than the operations partner or the org design partner or the leader. People have this belief that because I'm corporate strategy, I'm the only one who works with the executive. So I see a lot of very talented consultants who would be outstanding partners in the org design practice, leave that behind and try to be a corporate strategy partner when they're not very good at it. And they have this innate skill to solve problems in other areas, but they just ignore that. It's all about the hype of being a corporate strategy partner. So about being true to yourself, you have to go where you are good. And the most important thing is if you have good mentors, because that's the most important thing that's going to determine whether you get ahead. If you have no mentors at the firm, you are not going to become a partner. It's that simple. It's not possible. No matter how brilliant you think you are, you won't become a partner. Even if you're actually doing well with clients, they'll find a way to manage you out, right? Because when you are appointed a partner, a group of partners need to bring you into their network and agree to put you into their clients and basically share that revenue structure with you. So yeah, I mean, being true to yourself is important. I mean, I never wanted to be a corporate strategy partner. I ended up working with a corporate strategy partner. I'm pretty sure I'd have been fine as a organizational design partner as well. Or leadership. That sounds pretty cool. Get to sit there and meet important people and drink coffee and talk about deep personal stuff. So yes, you got to be true to yourself. Okay, Ritika, some words of advice for you. I think I've told you everything I haven't told you everything I can, but enjoy your vacation.
I will, Michael. And hey, thanks for everything again. This being true to yourself is a big one. I mean, I said it at the end, but this is one of those things where you just like have to consistently listen and, like you said, learn by observing.
Yes. And also, I think you'll make a good role model. I hope you embrace that. I don't mean like help people and carve out 4 hours in a day to do cases with people. That's definitely not what I mean because it's not going to be good for you. But being a good role model means that when people look at you in 10 years, they should see that you've done things right and they should feel that they could follow the same path. Because you need a diversity of role models. I certainly don't want to hear that the SEC has regulated you for some reason.
It's a lot of pressure, Michael.
It's not a lot of pressure.
I'm just kidding.
People always say it's so hard. It's not hard. You just have to do your work and, okay, maybe the life is a little bit unfair and you don't get the reward that you totally deserve immediately, but eventually it'll come your way.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, the other thing to remember that I can tell you right now, I know of several partners who are in the news right now who left the firm because they did bad things at the firm and they went on to become CEOs. The firm doesn't disclose when you do bad things. It just says you left in good standing.
Oh, okay.
So no one knows. So they went on to become very successful. But my thinking is that they probably will do bad things again at some point. Indirectly, what I'm saying is that when you work at these firms, the rewards are very big, even if you don't always do it right. But you have to avoid that temptation. And I don't think you'll succumb to that trap, but it's important to keep that in the back of your head. Okay, I'm going to let you go now because your husband's probably there waiting for dinner.
He's not around, but probably be back soon.
Okay, take care. We'll speak soon.
Yep. Thanks, Michael. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.